Atlanta has always been a city that thrives on whispers and eruptions, but what happened the night of Spice's concert reminded everyone that loyalty is the true currency here. The city was already buzzing before the first beat dropped, but when Rasheeda and Kirk slid into that venue, the temperature changed instantly. The crowd could feel it. The bloggers could feel it. Even the artists backstage could feel it. Atlanta doesn't need an official announcement to know when a storm is coming. It can sense the electricity in the air. And that night, the storm wasn't just about music. It was about unresolved shade, bruised egos, and friendships that had been chipped away by gossip, one whisper at a time. The moment Yandy's name collided with Rasheeda's in conversation, the energy shifted, the atmosphere thickened, and suddenly, the night became less about celebration and more about confrontation. Spice, being the unapologetic instigator she is, wasn't about to let the night pass without stirring the pot. She looked Yandy dead in the face earlier that evening and warned her that the frosts were showing up. And in true Yandy fashion, she didn't hide. She didn't shrink. She told Spice with a steady voice that she was actually glad, because she was tired of whispers and tired of loyalty being tested in side conversations. She wanted everything said to her face, raw and unfiltered. You could see it in her eyes. She was holding quiet strength all this time, and she was ready to unleash it. But when the moment came, Rasheeda couldn't even last the night. She played her part for the cameras, smiled at the crowd, waved to fans like nothing was wrong. Yet the moment she spotted Yandy close by, the mask cracked. She slipped out, leaving confusion, leaving whispers, leaving questions about why a woman who had so much to say in confessionals couldn't stand tall when it mattered. And that's Rasheeda's pattern. On screen, she can throw daggers with a smirk, but when it comes time to live those words face to face, she folds like paper. Her confessional had already been circulating online, the one where she mocked Yandy's looks, sneering that she couldn't stand being near her because of funky breath and a bad BBL. Fans replayed that clip over and over just to make sure they heard it right. It wasn't subtle shade, it was loud, it was direct, and it was mean, the kind of insult designed to humiliate. But the irony wasn't lost on the audience. Many were quick to remind Rasheeda that her own looks, her own body, and even her boutique rebrand had been questioned for years. From rainbow dresses to boutique, mogul, she had reinvented herself before, and not all the whispers were flattering. Yandy, meanwhile, wasn't fuming in a wild, chaotic way. Her hurt was quieter but sharper, like glass pressed against skin. In the dressing room after the concert, sitting across from Spice, she didn't scream or throw things. Her voice was tight, her hands clenched, but the words cut deep. She reminded Spice that she had shared private, vulnerable moments with Rasheeda, sister to sister, conversations, and Rasheeda had turned them into ammunition, spreading them across podcasts, confessionals, and interviews. That wasn't just shade, that was betrayal. And in Atlanta, betrayal is heavier than fists. It leaves scars that don't fade. Spice, with her wide-eyed innocence, pretended to be shocked, acting like she didn't already know the rumors flying around. But Yandy wasn't letting her play neutral. She leaned forward, her eyes locked, and told her flat out this wasn't random. This was about alliances. She made it clear that Rasheeda had gotten close to Jasmine, the same Jasmine who once threatened to destroy her marriage, the same Jasmine who had haunted her house with whispers of infidelity. "Did I stutter?" Yandy snapped, her tone slicing through the air like a blade. That line alone sent blogs into overdrive. Fans leaned closer to their screens, bloggers typed up headlines, and suddenly the feud had leveled up from shade to a full-blown war. The next morning, Atlanta was in flames. Leaked clips from the concert spread online, hashtags trended, and the whispers turned into screams. But it wasn't just about that night. Old confessionals resurfaced, old messy edits were reanalyzed, and fans began pulling out receipts like lawyers. They built timelines of how Yandy and Rasheeda's sisterhood had unraveled, and the conclusion was obvious. This wasn't about a BBL. This was about loyalty broken in plain sight. Yandy, always calculated, didn't let herself spiral. She jumped into her own comments and began addressing fans directly with a calm but cutting edge. When accused of surgery, she broke it down. No BBL, no fake teeth, just braces, just the natural shifts of motherhood and breastfeeding. She didn't just defend herself. She educated, she elevated, and then she flipped the narrative. She posted carousels of her in confident poses, captioned with lines like, "My heart is pure. My booty is real." It was short, simple, and devastatingly effective. Meanwhile, the people around her added fuel to the fire. One stylist dropped a comment so savage it sent the internet into hysteria. "Tell Rasheeda she's been smelling like earring backs." Everyone knows that sour metallic funk. To compare someone to that wasn't just shade, it was unforgivable. And Yandy, with her strategist mind, didn't need to type paragraphs. She simply reposted it. No explanation, no rant. Just silence that screamed louder than any IG live ever could. The internet feasted, dragging Rasheeda mercilessly while Yandy sat back, calm and unbothered, letting her enemies destroy themselves. Silence, though, can be dangerous. And Rasheeda's silence was deafening, too quiet. In Atlanta, quiet isn't peace. Quiet is weakness. The blogs started tearing apart her past, her rainbow dresses, her boutique rebrands, her failed storylines. Everything she had tried to polish over the years was unraveling in front of her eyes. Yandy, meanwhile, leaned into the storm with precision. She posted a video captioned, "I woke up and chose violence." But she clarified, she wasn't talking about fists. She was talking about strategy, about protecting her empire, her brand, her bag. That's the difference with Yandy. She knows when to fight with words and when to fight with silence. She reminded everyone she wasn't about to ruin brand deals for petty drama. She was too busy building generational wealth to get dragged into clown games. And while fans begged her to go harder, to clap back with even more venom, she refused to take the bait. That's why her critics were frustrated. She was playing chess while Rasheeda was losing at checkers. Still, the internet is addicted to chaos. They wanted the old-school love and hip-hop mess. Drinks thrown, wigs pulled, fists flying. But Yandy understood better than anyone. Sometimes restraint is the sharpest weapon. She clapped back with intelligence, mocked the stretches people, made about her body, and ended comments with dismissive humor like, "Sis, you reaching? Do your arms hurt from that stretch?" That single line went viral, plastered across Twitter bios and TikTok skits, turning into a slogan overnight. Meanwhile, Rasheeda was nowhere to be found. The silence grew, and with every hour she stayed quiet, the streets wrote her story for her. And in Atlanta, once the streets write your story, you don't get the pen back. The morning after Spice's concert, Atlanta didn't just wake up. It roared awake. Half the city was replaying that grainy clip of Rasheeda slipping out the back door like a thief in the night, while the other half was dissecting every cutting word Yandy dropped in that dressing room. Social media was unrelenting. Instagram was a battlefield. TikTok was drowning in reenactments of the funky BBL cheeks line, and Twitter was ablaze with threads where strangers were deciding who deserved loyalty and who had already betrayed it. For outsiders, it looked like petty reality TV shade, but for Atlanta, it was a cultural earthquake. And at the epicenter stood Yandy, calm yet unbending, her crown balanced perfectly while chaos spun around her. Instead of spiraling, Yandy leaned deeper into the storm. She began posting soft but razor-sharp captions under perfectly curated photos. Each image was crafted like a chess move, her smiling with calm eyes, her children beside her, her brand front and center. Under one photo she wrote, "Generational wealth over jealousy, always." The caption went viral, not because it was loud, but because it carried weight. Fans who had watched her grow from a young manager into a mogul read between the lines. They knew this wasn't just about shade, it was about survival in an industry where loyalty is the sharpest weapon and betrayal is the deadliest poison. Meanwhile, Rasheeda stayed silent, too silent. And that silence was cutting her deeper than any insult Yandy had ever uttered. The same woman who had mocked Yandy in confessionals about funky breath and plastic surgery was nowhere to be found when the fire turned on her. Instead, the internet dug into her past. Old reunion clips surfaced. Her rainbow dresses, her boutique, rebrands. Even the shaky beginnings of her business ventures were dragged into the light. Strangers with receipts and screenshots picked apart her image piece by piece, unraveling the polished reputation she had spent years trying to build. And The longer she stayed quiet, the worse it became. The worse it became. But Spice wasn't going to sit back without playing her role. She jumped on a live, eyes wide and lips pressed in fake confusion, insisting she had no idea why Yandy and Rasheeda were suddenly at war. "I want peace," she said sweetly, blinking into the camera as if she hadn't been the one to plant the seeds. But fans weren't buying it. They flooded her comments, calling her out for playing both sides, accusing her of being the bone collector, the one carrying gossip from one house to another. "Spice, you messy and you know it," one fan typed, and thousands liked it. The city saw through the act. They knew her laughter, her little whispers, her casual mentions weren't innocent. They were gasoline. And once again, Spice was being crowned the instigator who hides behind wide eyes and shocked expressions. Then came the twist that sent everything spiraling into nuclear territory: the Jasmine rumors. What Yandy had casually dropped in the dressing room turned into the headline of the week. Whispers spread that Rasheeda had gotten too close to Jasmine, the same woman who nearly wrecked Yandy's marriage. Alleged photos surfaced online. Blurry. Shots of women on vacation in the Bahamas. Grainy images of dinner tables where faces looked a little too familiar. Anonymous accounts claimed they saw them together, laughing, plotting, whispering like best friends. Maybe it was business. Maybe it was friendship. Maybe it was just rumor. But in Atlanta, perception is reality. And the perception was devastating. Rasheeda had crossed the ultimate line. The blogs ran wild. Headlines screamed, "Rasheeda's secret alliance exposed." Was Yandy right all along? Screenshots circulated, timelines were drawn, and suddenly it wasn't about funky breath or BBLs anymore. It was about betrayal at the highest level. And the beauty of it, from Yandy's perspective, was that she didn't even have to address it. She let the blogs do the heavy lifting. She let the fans dissect the rumors. All she had to do was sit pretty, post her businesses, her family, and sprinkle subliminal captions that dripped with shade. "People don't switch up overnight. They've been feeling that way for a while," she wrote under one photo, smiling, as if nothing around her was burning. Fans knew exactly what she meant. Every line she dropped was interpreted as a dagger aimed straight at Rasheeda's chest. And then there was that stylist's infamous comment that refused to die. "Tell Rasheeda she smells like earring backs." Memes flooded Instagram with photos of dirty earring backs captioned, "Rasheeda's new perfume." It was merciless. The internet doesn't forgive or forget, and once a joke catches, it spreads like wildfire. Yandy didn't even need to touch it. Her simple repost had already cemented it in the culture. That's her power. She knows when to be silent and let the internet do the dragging for her. And silence from her is never weakness, it's strategy. But silence from Rasheeda was weakness, and everyone knew it. Fans begged her to speak up, to defend herself, to clap back the way she once had in confessionals. But nothing came. Every hour she didn't respond, the streets carved her reputation deeper into stone. Whispers began that Kirk was advising her to stay quiet, worried that the feud could shatter what little credibility they had left as a couple. But in Atlanta, nothing kills respect faster than the perception that a woman can't stand on her own without her man's voice guiding her. The longer Rasheeda stayed silent, the more people called her out for being weak, controlled, and scared. Yandy, on the other hand, was thriving. She posted a video with the caption, "I woke up this morning and chose violence." But she quickly clarified in the comments, "Not the kind that loses deals, the kind that wins wars." That single line shifted the narrative again. Suddenly, she wasn't just a reality star clapping back. She was being hailed as a strategist, a woman turning betrayal into a marketing blueprint. The blogs praised her, fans reposted her, and the industry began to see her not as a victim of shade, but as a mogul who could turn chaos into currency. That's what separates her from so many others. She knows how to use the fire burning around her to light her own empire. Still, the audience wasn't satisfied. They wanted escalation. They wanted a showdown. They wanted Rasheeda to snap, to go live, to scream, to throw everything she had at Yandy until both were left in ruins. But Rasheeda stayed frozen, her silence becoming her own executioner. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, a mysterious Instagram page appeared. It dropped old, unseen footage of two women clinking glasses, their laughter filling the background, their voices sounding suspiciously like Rasheeda and Jasmine. Whether the video was real, edited, or planted by production didn't matter. Atlanta doesn't need proof. It just needs the perception of proof. And the perception was brutal. Yandy had been right all along. The video spread like wildfire. Every blog reposted it. Fans flooded the comments, laughing, disgusted, disappointed. "Sis, you built a whole empire on loyalty and now this?" One fan wrote under Rasheeda's last post. Her silence became its own headline. Every hour she didn't defend herself was another hour the streets ripped her apart. And while she crumbled, Yandy sat back with quiet satisfaction, posting a serene photo with the caption, "Tables turn. Bridges burn. Lessons learned." That one line broke the internet. It was reposted everywhere, turned into memes, quoted in Twitter threads. It was subliminal enough to protect her, but sharp enough to cut her opponent to pieces. That's Yandy's gift. She knows how to win without even lifting a finger. By now, Rasheeda was cracking. For years, she built her brand on being the calm one, the businesswoman, the boss chick who rose above drama. But now that brand was unraveling in real time. Her silence was painting her as guilty, and whispers of betrayal were undoing everything she had built. Meanwhile, Spice tried to defend herself once more, going live to say she wanted peace and never thought things would get this far. But the comments dragged her mercilessly. "Girl, you started it. Don't play dumb now." Messy. Queen strikes again. No matter how she blinked into the camera, the truth was already written. Spice had stirred the pot, and now the stew was boiling over. The feud wasn't just online anymore. It bled into their businesses. Yandy's posts were flooded with supportive comments, her products sold out, fans buying just to show solidarity. Meanwhile, Rasheeda's boutique page was hit with clown emojis, her outfits mocked, her image tarnished. This wasn't just shade anymore. It was economics. Reputation equals revenue. And in this war, Yandy was cashing in while Rasheeda was bleeding out. The final blow, however, didn't come from fans or even from Yandy. It came from the industry itself. A leaked email began circulating, allegedly from a brand that had been in talks with Rasheeda for a campaign. The message said they were pulling out, citing negative publicity and brand image concerns. Whether it was leaked intentionally or not didn't matter. The damage was done, and with that, the feud shifted from petty to professional. This wasn't just shade anymore. It was a career crisis. By the time that leaked email surfaced, Atlanta knew the feud had gone beyond shade. It had turned into survival. The brand that pulled away from Rasheeda sent shockwaves through the industry. For years, she had prided herself on staying relevant, through boutiques, music, and reality TV. But now her silence wasn't just costing her fans, it was costing her money. In this city, reputation is tied directly to revenue, and once that bond breaks, your empire collapses brick by brick. The streets whispered that Kirk had begged her to let the fire die down quietly, but the truth is, Atlanta doesn't let anything die quietly. It magnifies, it multiplies, and it etches every rumor into stone. The silence that once looked like strategy now looked like fear, and fear never wins in this game. Yandy, meanwhile, was thriving. She began booking speaking engagements, sitting on panels about women in business, using her own storm as a case study in resilience. Without ever mentioning Rasheeda by name, she told rooms full of entrepreneurs, "Sometimes the people you break bread with will try to break your back. But when you stay solid, the truth always reveals itself." The crowd erupted. The blogs clipped it. Fans quoted it. And once again, Yandy turned betrayal into branding. She didn't just survive the feud. She elevated from it. She showed the industry that her name wasn't tied to gossip. It was tied to strategy. That's why her products kept selling out. Her collaborations kept expanding, and her influence only grew stronger. But Rasheeda couldn't stay silent forever. Eventually, she cracked. Sitting with her children beside her, she posted a long caption on Instagram, trying to soften the blow of weeks of humiliation. She denied being close to Jasmine, denied being disloyal, denied laughing behind Yandy's back. She painted herself as misunderstood, a victim of edits and rumors. But the comments weren't forgiving. Fans dragged her with ruthless precision. Too late, sis. The streets already decided. Damage control don't work when the house already burned. For every word she typed, the audience typed 10 more in response, reminding her that silence had already told her story for her. The caption wasn't healing. It was reopening wounds. And then came the mic drop that sealed it. Yandy posted a short video, no theatrics, no screaming, just a soft smile and one simple line. My heart is pure and my booty is real. That was it. Calm, deadly. A dagger dressed as a whisper. The internet erupted. Fans screamed in the comments. Bloggers plastered the quote on every platform. Memes flooded timelines with fire emojis. In one sentence, she ended weeks of chaos, turning every insult into a punchline and every rumor into a joke. That's the thing about Yandy. She knows when to whisper, so the world screams for her. Meanwhile, Rasheeda tried to push forward, but the cracks were too deep. Her boutique page, once a hub for fans, was drowning in clown emojis and snake symbols. Old storylines were dragged up again, painting her not as a boss, but as a flip-flopper who thrived on tearing down others to stay relevant. Every brand she tried to attach her name to faced backlash. Every move she made felt like desperation instead of dominance. And the more she tried to convince people she was still in control, the more obvious it became that the control had slipped out of her hands. Spice tried one last time to escape the mess she had stirred. She went live again, crying real tears this time, saying she just wanted unity, that she never thought things would spiral this far. But fans weren't buying it. The comments cut like knives. Girl, you lit the match. Don't play innocent when you the bone collector. The truth was undeniable. Spice had fueled this war, and though she pretended to step back, her fingerprints were all over the explosion. The feud spread beyond TV screens and blogs. It bled into conversations in barbershops, nail salons, church, pews, and corner stores. It wasn't just entertainment anymore. It was the city's heartbeat. People debated loyalty like it was politics, argued about betrayal like it was scripture. And in every conversation, one truth was clear. Yandy had stood tall while Rasheeda crumbled. The streets had chosen their winner long before the networks even caught up. And when production meetings leaked that VH1 was considering centering an entire season arc around the feud, it was obvious why. Pain in this franchise isn't just pain, it's profit. Betrayal isn't just betrayal, it's ratings. The cameras don't stop rolling when the fight ends, they roll harder. And while Yandy was poised to turn her resilience into more power, Rasheeda faced a choice. Either fight back publicly and risk losing even more, or fade into the background and let the silence write her ending. Atlanta never forgets. And in this city, loyalty is everything. Rasheeda thought she could throw shade, hide behind confessionals, and escape when the fire turned on her. She thought whispers would be forgotten, but the streets remember everything. Yandy proved that silence only works when your name is clean. She flipped every insult into a marketing tool, every drag session into fuel for her empire. She didn't just win the feud. She turned it into a masterclass. She made Betrayal a blueprint for resilience. As the dust settled, one image lingered. Yandy standing tall, unbothered, her crown shining, her empire intact. And on the other side, Rasheeda, left picking up fragments of loyalty that could never be glued back together. Her brand bruised, her silence remembered more than her words. The city decided, the fans confirmed, and the blogs sealed it in history. In the battlefield of Atlanta, Yandy was still standing, her name louder than ever, while Rasheeda's whispers faded into echoes. Because in Atlanta, betrayal doesn't disappear. It gets replayed. And when the streets talk, they decide who's still standing when the smoke clears. And when the smoke cleared this time, only Yandy's crown remained untouched.